So I talked to straight middle-aged men from Texas, white men from Texas, who are conservative,
That's
right?
right.
I talked to them. Hey, my kindergartner came home to school today with
Mhm,
this piece of paper.
mhm.
Why do they need to know their pronouns?
At
They're in
kindergarten?
kindergarten.
Hey everybody, here we are. I caught myself another one. I love all you people. So today I have Nikki. But before we go forward, I just want to thank you all for supporting my channel, really raising those numbers up, really understanding how important the comments are, and really encouraging me to bring these guests on. And that means a lot to me. And so when you like, subscribe, and do all that stuff, it really helps me get this message that I'm, trying to do is give people who are not being given the space to have these conversations in a community that's supposed to be diverse
Yeah.
and inclusive. So today, today I have a beautiful person named Nikki, and I'm going to let Nikki explain who Nikki is. And so take it away, Nikki.
You want me to explain who I am? I am a human being. No. My name is Nikki. I go by Nikki Starkiller. I'm 40 years old. I started my transition at the age of 36 on my birthday. And, I just try to spread awareness. I talk about things, I talk about subjects. I like to also like listen to a lot of people, especially like other trans people. Like, I have a platform on TikTok where I basically allow anyone to talk. But because I allow anyone to talk, I'm transphobic, I'm homophobic, I'm racist, and I support white supremacy
Wow.
because I
So
allow people to express what their opinions are and their perspectives.
I see what you're saying. So I know that happens with me too. That people call me all kinds of names because we're not sticking to the talking points. We're not sticking to what the trans community is supposed, even though that's a lie. There's no such thing as a trans community at this point. So people are attacking you on like platforms like TikTok and Instagram
Well,
for what?
because I speak of importance and I also speak of trying to save the kids. Like
Great, great.
that's one of the big dividing factors that I have is like the kids, and
Thank you,
especially like puberty blockers. And
thank you.
then even social transition. Like you're still putting that idea in their head.
That's right.
And a lot
Yeah,
of people forget, oh, it's social transition so easy. They can just start wearing different clothes and stuff like that. No. You're basically telling your kid it's okay to do this and it's fine.
that's right. That's right. And so we're in alignment. Everybody out there knows how I feel about trans kids. I don't call them trans kids. I call them kids with dysphoria or trauma or dealing with some stuff going on. That being, or they're
But
just non
there
they're
is
gender non-conforming children. That's what
Yes,
they are.
but
Right.
there is people who are younger who do experience gender dysphoria, and
Totally.
we cannot deny that.
That's right.
But
That's right.
I think it's become such a fad,
That's right.
especially amongst females to males. So like your community, like your side, but it's also like the non-binary aspect, and it's just like so we're giving these 17, 18-year-old girls testosterone and they finally have the balls to speak up because that's what testosterone does. It gives you that energy and it gives you
Yeah.
that toxic masculinity kind of
Yeah.
effect. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because
Yeah.
testosterone in itself is very strong.
Sure.
Estrogen is a little different, you know?
Big time. Big difference. But also, I think a lot of these people feel that they can start to speak up because they're in a group. Many of these people who attack you or me are always in a mobby group. So
Mhm.
they feel that they have this sort of that it's okay for them. And what in a sense what they're doing to us and people like us is bullying us. That's bully behavior because we think
But yeah,
differently.
I get taken down all the time for hateful behavior and bullying.
So tell me what one of the reasons why they feel like you have tell me give me an example of hateful behavior that they say you have.
Because I don't think that kids should be on puberty blockers.
Right? Okay. So
That's
how is that
hateful.
hateful? Okay, okay, yeah, that's rhetoric because it's not hateful. It means you care. You actually
Mhm.
care about these children. So that's one of them. And then tell me some of the other beliefs that you have and that are not in alignment with the agenda of the trans space at this point.
Oh, man. Such a loaded question.
Yeah, it is.
Um, so
It
I
is.
come to realize that for at least from my perspective, that there's 2 sexes, 2 genders, and there's thousands of gender identities.
Mhm,
So, like, I've come to realize that my gender is woman. And
mhm,
why do I say that my gender is woman? Because when I go out in society, people perceive me to be a woman. But that's only because I have what's called passing privilege.
right. Okay.
So there's that thing. Like I have passing. We have this term of like people who don't pass. Like if I saw you wearing a dress and you want to be called a woman, I'm going to be like, you're a lazy trans.
Right.
You're being
That's right.
lazy. Like at least try. You
Mhm,
know what I mean?
mhm.
And if you try enough, people still probably will still stare at you, but they're not going to stare at you as much, you know, because you're not having a beard. You're wearing a dress. You know what I mean?
Well, the
So
only reason they're staring at you right now is because of your tattoos and your hair color, and you look a little funky like me. That's the reason people stare at us. They're not because they don't know what gender we are. So,
yeah,
do you consider yourself a transsexual or a transgender?
I consider myself a trans woman.
A
I
trans woman. Okay.
so
Mhm,
like I understand the differences, but I
mhm.
don't like being called transgender,
Okay,
which
great.
is
Excellent.
just like. But I just basically I like the nitty gritty of just I'm just a trans woman. You know what I
Right. So,
mean?
you accept your biology. Is that
Yes, my biology is that I was born a male.
right? Right. Okay, that's right. I mean, for
I
me,
know
that's
this.
exactly the same. Not to
And
say that.
since I went through puberty, I was able to get the surgery the way that it's supposed to be performed.
Why don't you elaborate a little on that so the guests, the people listening can
So
understand what
I
that
have what's
means?
called a single stage penile inversion that I got done on June 13th of this year. And they basically cut it, pull out the meat, save all the nerves with the head, and they form it. But because I went through puberty, I had the skin from the shaft to be able to form my canal.
Mhm.
So I have what 6 inches of depth, which is actually pretty good.
Yep,
You know,
yep, that's right. So I hope people are hearing what she's saying, which is that you need to go through that puberty in order to move forward to any type of
well,
good bottom surgery.
so the yeah, but yes, they can use like parts of your intestines or doing skin grafts and stuff like that. But why would I do that?
Oh, I see what you're saying. So if you don't, if the trans people who don't go through full puberty will have a micro penis or something to that effect, and they won't be able to do what they did with you because you had full functioning
Mhm.
penis that was able to be introverted. Is that what it's called?
Inverted, yeah,
Inverted to make the vagina. So
yeah.
I mean, that in itself is a very important part of being a trans person who's medicalized. I mean, why would you stunt the growth of a child so that then they're, let's say, a male to female, then their penis doesn't grow, then they can't have the proper surgery. Then they have to do what? What do they have to do, Nikki, if you don't have full growth of a
They can take
penis?
part of your intestine.
Hmm.
They can do a skin graft,
Hmm.
or you can still get the vagina plasty, but had no depth.
So you have
Well,
no
but
doubt.
that's also an option for even people who are older who went through puberty. Like if they don't want the death
Right,
and they don't want to have to take care of it, because
right.
that's the hard part. It's like nobody wants to actually go through dilation. But
So
like
tell me a little bit about that. So dilation is something you have to do forever.
essentially for about a year, 3 times a day, and then I can continue unless I have a sexual partner.
Oh, great.
But
Yeah.
I actually had to reduce my dilation because I did have a complication.
Oh, you did?
Not a major one, but I essentially had 2 complications from my surgery. The
Okay.
one was one of my skin grafts of my ball tissue did not let it detached, so they call it a hyst. So
Okay.
that detached,
Uh-huh.
uh, and I was basically forced to be in bed for 6 weeks because of that.
Wow.
And I was only able to dilate once a day because it just hurt so much. And then the second thing is that I heal so fast. I got what's called around my canal opening. I got what's called hypergranulation tissue.
Mhm.
And if you know what hypergranulation tissue, it's scar tissue and it's the tissue still growing underneath it. So it raises it up. So I wasn't able to get my dilator in anymore. And I'm like, hey, because the scar tissue formed. So I actually went in, this was like 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. I actually went in. She's like, this is going to be a simple procedure. Great. I was out probably for like 45 minutes. And she's like, it only took me 5, 10 minutes to do it. But like since that happened, I've been so much better.
Right.
Um, but also to go back to what the hiss was, me and my doctor are also on the same page that like when I essentially fully heal or about a year after my surgery, then we'll go back and fix that. So, because it's basically just a cosmetic
Mm,
complication. So I haven't had the horror stories that
mhm,
a lot of other women have had or trans women have had,
mhm.
where like I've seen some and I'm just like, whoa. And I also was lucky enough to have my surgery 10 minutes down the road. I live in South Carolina, so I was actually the first person in South Carolina to get gender reassignment surgery. And
Wow.
I have my friend who's going in December,
Mhm,
who's going to get hers done. But we're both older women. We transition at an
that's
older
right,
age.
that's right.
So like, and we have this new doctor. Yes, I was essentially like her guinea pig. You know what I mean?
Yep, I
But
sure do.
she, the week before my surgery, she's from the Mount Sinai Institute. So like,
Mhm,
that's where she came from.
mhm.
But the week before my surgery, she was up there all week just helping them out, honing in their skills. So that made me feel much better. You
Right.
know, that yes, this is the first time that she's actually like doing it here,
Mhm.
but you know, they know techniques and stuff like that. They know new
Yeah.
techniques. Because I went to my doctor, my primary care doctor, and I'm like, "Hey," she's like, "Well, some of the older people still stick to their old techniques. Some of the new people have
Mhm,
these new techniques that'll help you out."
mhm.
Like, I'm not gonna name some doctors, but there's a sketchy doctor up near Pennsylvania who has been doing surgeries forever,
Uh-huh.
but like you see all the horror stories that come from them, and it's just like, whoa, you know?
But why is the community not holding these doctors responsible? And wouldn't that be the ethical thing to do within the community? Is say, hey, wait a
Yeah,
minute here. You don't go to this doctor. He's not. He did a horrible job on me.
or she,
But they
yeah,
don't do that.
no,
Why?
it's a performing gender affirming care,
So their
and everybody is different, so everybody's gonna have like different,
opinions.
yeah.
But I don't care about opinions, I care about facts. So if factually somebody's having a horrible surgery and then another one has a horrible surgery, I think it's
But
unethical for us not to talk about that.
but we also know that there is complications within the surgery.
Of course, that's a no-brainer. That's with
And I'm
all
glad
surgery.
that I didn't get the bad complications. You know
That's
what I
right,
mean?
but
I
others
had
did.
I had something where, you know, cosmetic, it lifted up, hurt like hell. And then I had hypergranulation tissue, in which my doctor, like, because I was very talkative to her, and like I see, here's the other thing. I have her cell phone number. So I can just send her a text and just be like, hey, why is this happening?
Yeah, but
Why can't I do this?
that's something that just happens, that's a
Yeah.
complication. That's to
Hmm.
me different than an actual, like, perform so I can tell you on the flip side, I know there of a doctor, a surgeon who does bottom surgery for trans men, and he's done horrible, botched surgeries, and I know, like, 6 guys who started a lawsuit against him, and what all he did, he lost his license in California and moved to
Oh,
another
that's good. Of
state. Moved to another state and opened another clinic to do the same
course.
surgery because that's legal in this country. So that's scary.
Yes, it's very scary.
Wow. Holy crap. So, yeah, we're not holding these we're not holding these surgeons responsible. What we will, you watch, because it's going to come. I mean, the fact that we're doing these surgeries on young people is so insane. So
Oh,
you're an
but they
adult.
they don't do surgeries on young people.
Yeah, right. I can pull
They
some
have
up
to
right
wait
now and
until
show
they're
you.
18 in order to get
Yeah,
surgeries.
sure thing.
They
That's what
have
we
to
do.
wait till 18 before they get hormones.
That's right. That's right. I mean, it's amazing how much they put out lies out there. It's just I literally we all do. We have video of doctors saying, we have video of 13-year-olds jumping around on TikTok. "Ooh, I got my," come on, man.
And I hate to say it, but I don't think that Planned Parenthood's doing any good either.
Oh no, I don't think so. And I've supported them forever, but once they got into the gender medicine, which they did because there's a lot of money, I completely
What
distanced myself from them.
what is it? Next year will the gender affirming care will have more revenue than the NFL?
There you go. So everyone should know that. We all know that there's serious money attached to this. There's no reason why this should be happening other than money. And
We
it's
all have a
obvious.
price tag.
What's gender affirming care? What does that even mean? Gender affirming care. I don't understand that whole thing. Gender affirm. It's too like blanket. We're all different. All of us who come to this transition space are different. Reasons why we
Mhm.
do it, how we do it, when we do it, all the accessibility to it. So I don't understand that. So how old were you when you transitioned? 36?
I started hormones on my 36th birthday.
That's right. Prior to
So
that, tell
so
me.
that was June 21st of 2018, but I officially came out on June 9th, 2018, because that's when I had my doctor's appointment. And also, like, shh, you're supposed to go see a therapist before you get a doctor's appointment, right? I didn't.
Because now you don't have to. I
I just
did.
made an appointment. But I also researched, like, for, like, the best one of the best, doctors on the East Coast.
You're 36. I don't care what you do. I'm
Yeah,
not here
she
for a
was fine.
to
She was just like, "So you have no kids?" I was like, "Nope." She's like, "You want to freeze some sperm?" I was like, "Nope." She's like, "You're old enough to make that decision. That's fine." You know?
That's right. That's right. She's right. She's totally
And
right.
then she asked me all the correct questions, like, "What do you blah, 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 all
Mhm,
this." "Yeah,
mhm,
yeah, yeah, I know exactly."
mhm.
And mind you, I came into her space as a 5'7", 185-pound male with about 6 to 7% body fat. Because
Wow.
for me,
Wow.
after I was a drug addict,
Right.
I went into weightlifting and CrossFit
Wow.
and MMA.
Wow.
So I had and she
Man.
was just like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah, you were
And she
jacked.
goes, "You're gonna need to eat some McDonald's or Burger King at least once a day to get some fat on you." Because it actually is important to have some fat, so that way the estrogen knows where to bring this stuff.
That's
You
actually
know what I
true.
mean?
Yes.
That's also the other thing.
Yes.
Like, and I knew that going into that. My friends were like, when I started my hormones, they're like, why are you eating all this Burger King and stuff?" It's like, "'Cause I have to put on some fat."
Right on. Right on. So that's what
Yeah.
that was gonna be my next question. I'd like to know a little bit about your life prior to transitioning.
Ooh. So I will say this. Me and my mom traced it back about a year after I came out or started my transition. Me and my mom were sitting at the kitchen table talking, and we traced it about back to around the age of 13.
Mhm,
So this
mhm.
goes against like what I'm trying to fight for. Like I
No, it
had
doesn't.
the
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
I
Nope,
know.
nope.
I know, but like so
But
I
what
was around the age of 13,
Mhm,
right? Where my mom noticed something different. But
mhm,
when I was 13, that was 1995
mhm.
in rural upstate New York.
Mm.
I had a graduating class of 63 people.
Wow.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Country,
Country.
farms everywhere. Everybody thinks, oh, New York City. No, New York, upstate New York, very different.
Yeah, totally.
Very also have very different ideologies too,
Yep,
upstate New York than New York City.
that's right.
So we chased it around, but I started doing drugs around the age of 16,
Mhm.
specifically cocaine and pills.
Okay.
I s- I stopped that on August 1st, 2007. I finally became. I haven't not touched cocaine since then. Um,
Excellent,
mhm.
excellent.
But after the cocaine, I needed something. These ideas started coming back into my head, so I started to do MMA and CrossFit and weightlifting.
Right.
And then when I started MMA, like I was a smaller person,
Uh-huh,
it was just like, oh, I'm gonna start doing testosterone
uh-huh,
because it was kind of I knew a guy in the gym who did it, and I was like,
uh-huh.
hey, I need some of that,
Mhm,
And so I was juicing.
mhm,
But then once CrossFit, like, kinda, like, took over, like, I was like, "I I can get these results without having to use testosterone? Great."
mhm.
So
Wow.
and then I basically hyper masculine myself.
Right, so that's so did you know that you were doing that? I think is my question. Did you know that you were trying to push away from this feeling of wanting
Yes,
to be
yeah.
woman? So you made yourself more masculine to do
The
that.
only time that I dressed up as a woman was either in my private life
Mhm.
or on Halloween, because it's
Right.
acceptable for a guy to dress up as a woman on
Yeah.
Halloween.
Yeah, that's right. That's always the case, certain places. So interesting. So then now you're in this whole hardcore masculine space. And then what was the sort of turning point for you to say, I have to look into this idea of becoming a female, a woman?
So
What
I was probably around 34.
okay.
Um, I did go to a therapist a couple times
Mhm.
to talk about other issues, but this issue kind of was brought up.
Mhm. Wow.
And I was like, well, I was like, I guess I need to start researching on this. So I started researching it at the age of 34 while also running a gym, and
Okay.
working in the flooring industry too. So like I
Okay.
started researching it and I explored like best doctors and stuff like that. And then I
Uh-huh.
explored like everything, what's going to happen, what should I expect that's going to happen,
Yeah.
and things like that. Um, and then when I moved down to Atlanta, I
Mhm.
moved down to Atlanta, Georgia. I was running 2 gyms. I was running 2 gyms, and I lived on a farm. So when I lived on the farm, I had a lot of time to really think, and I had a lot of time to kind of like break down a lot of barriers.
Mhm.
And then, so that's me. That's my crutch is avoidance. So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
once I figured out that I can't avoid this anymore because I attempted to unalive myself twice. One, I was 14. The second time, I was 20, 25.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
know,
Sorry. Horrible.
well,
Yeah.
I see. I can talk about these things
Of
because
course.
I've actually been in therapy now for with the same person now for 3 years. 3 years,
Great. Great. Great.
and I need it. And I actually just graduated after my surgery to every 2 weeks
Wow,
because
that's
I was going
excellent.
once a week. And it's not just because. And I don't see. Here's the other thing. I don't see a gender affirming therapist or an LGBTQ friendly therapist.
There
I
you
see
go.
a normal therapist
There you go.
because well, I can't say normal. I see a generalized therapist, right? Because
Right.
we tackled the issue of my drug thing,
Yeah.
PTSD, anxiety.
Yeah.
And like as a male, I never had anxiety until I started hormones.
Yeah.
And now that I've had the surgery and I'm on less hormones, my anxiety is basically has disappeared, but on comes like something else where I have OCD.
Well, I think a lot of people, just let's be real, not just trans people, but people in general, humans are dealing with life and life is so
Mhm.
difficult. So, but then add trans on top of it or dysphoria,
Oh,
whatever you want to call it, it just becomes even a bigger, deal. But
but
yeah,
you don't have to have gender dysphoria to be trans.
right. And then
I
there's
have
that
gender euphoria.
euphoria. I mean, they're
Fuck
just
out of here.
insane. Changing the definitions of, it's like
Wouldn't
so
that be
weird.
organophilia if you have gender euphoria?
I mean, that's a whole other conversation, right? AGP. That's something I would really love to talk about with an AGP trans person, but they seem to be
Oh,
hiding or not wanting to discuss it,
yeah.
or very rare. And I don't know why. It feels like it's
I
shame.
believe that I met one on TikTok when I was doing a live because of the way
Yeah.
that she was talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Can you explain AGP to the people out there who don't understand what that is?
so my I don't really know
Okay,
the
well,
corrective,
from
but
my
it's sexualized. It's
right.
basically I wanna be a woman because I wanna be sexual because I like to
It's
enjoy
like
it,
a love of
right?
yourself. It's like a love of yourself that as a female. So the
Yeah,
image of you as a female is sort of like the love. And there's I don't understand why we've sort of or not me or you maybe, but this certain part of the trans community has demonized that diagnosis because I think it's actually important. And it doesn't make you any less of anything. It's just a certain type of dysphoria
and
that
whatever happened to androgynous?
that's right. I mean, there's so many questions I could say that about that right now, but
And there's no
auto
detransitioners, like
autogynephilia is very prevalent, and I can see it more today and
Mhm.
than ever. But you get very people get very mad in the trans, especially trans women get very mad when you discuss it. They call it like sort of transphobic, or that. I'm like, what? How is
why
it
why
trans?
why is everything transphobic?
I'm going to ask you. That was my next question for you, my friend.
Fuck,
Why?
fuck, fuck.
Why?
I may look at you and be like, "Oh, you're a handsome man," but quite frankly, I have a genital preference. Sorry.
That's
I want
excellent.
the meat stick,
That's right,
per
and I
se.
don't
So,
blame
like,
you, and I
am
don't
I
blame you.
transphobic for not wanting to date a trans man?
The thing is that that's all ridiculous, and that's agenda based, and that has nothing to do with being trans or anything. It has to do with an innate thing in our bodies that we are sexually attracted to certain types of things. I'm attracted to certain types of things. I'm a bisexual. Oh, also being bisexual is considered transphobic because you're not
I think
recognizing.
we're all bisexual, but if I
Yeah.
had to label myself label myself, I'm pansexual if I had to
Yeah,
label myself.
yeah, yeah.
Because quite frankly, I would date a trans man, but
Yeah, yeah.
only if I had that connection with that person.
That's right. That's what people need
For
to
me, it's all
understand.
about the connections.
Me too. And like
But
this idea that if you're not, I might be attracted if I
but
saw you
but
walking
I
down the
do
street.
like I do like both of them. They
Right, but
they
people
go
need to
hand in
stop
hand.
putting that emphasis on trends. Like if I just saw you walking down the street, it's like, oh, she's a cool looking chick. I think she's awesome. I wouldn't think otherwise if that you were trans. But this
Mhm.
idea that you have to date a trans person or is so pathetic. It's
No.
pathetic. And it doesn't really do us any good. It's literally actually making people dislike us
And
even more.
also the other thing is, like, if I dated a straight man, they said that he's still straight. Nah, he's gotta be a little bisexual on that.
And there's something going on. I'm pretty sure. I
You
mean,
know what
all
I mean? I don't think that he's still straight.
yeah, and that's okay. And again, remember, gosh, this message really needs to reach the world. We don't have to conform to what people want. If that's how you feel and that's your space, who cares? Why is there this adamant way? So I want to say this to you, and then you can. I remember back in the day, we did not want labels. I remember they used to say labels are for soup cans. I mean, that was like the thing people said. And now it's like so many labels. And then we're stuck in these labels and we're being forced to take on labels that might not reflect how we are because if we don't, we're transphobic or we're turfs or we're so
But but I got my label as trans because I chose to start my transition.
that's right. That's what trans is. That's right. It's
Wait,
a
did I say
transition.
choose? It's a choice? Yes, I did. It's a choice.
That's right. It is a choice. That's
People
right.
don't know, you just needed to. No, I
Oh,
chose to start my transition.
that's right. And you're an adult. Now, let's go back to the kids because that's a very important part of why I'm doing all of this, why I'm really creating this YouTube channel to have the discussions that they will not talk about. By the way, Nikki, they're coming at me saying, "You don't put any positive stories." I'm like, "Pretty much all the stories I'm putting out there are positive. You just don't like the story." But
Yeah,
they're all positive stories and they're all people's stories. So because I'm not highlighting the sort of success stories, but you're a success and I'm highlighting you. You just have a different opinion, as I do,
yeah,
about
I
the
do.
kids. So that's the reason for this channel. This channel is all about, for
Yeah,
me, the kids. And so
and like I said before we even started this, like, I'm thankful that you gave someone like me who's not a big influencer, who doesn't have the social media precedence, but I do have a precedence on TikTok, you know, which which I see a lot of people don't really put their presence on TikTok because they ban you immediately. But that's why I have 7 accounts.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, no, no, it's so funny, but I do have a main channel. But,
Hilarious.
like, and the reason why I have those is because people try to silence me,
Of course.
and they can't silence me.
No, they can't silence any of us. We'll just keep
No,
going. Actually, they can't. They think they can, and they can't.
because soon as I get silence, like, I have all these followers, I'll just be like, "Hey, I need 1,000 followers on this account."
Mhm.
And then within 10, 15 minutes, I'll get, like, all those people to join to sign on it.
So I find it quite fascinating, and I would also, I have a lot of followers who are not trans, who are just people want to know about us and learn from us, and they like us, and they just want to know more. They want us. They want real stories, and so they can understand why me and you had to transition to save our lives. But that being said, I think what's happening is if we don't get on board, they try to shut us down because they think what we're doing is anti-trans, when what we are doing is pro-trans. We
Mhm.
are trying to show the diversity of this community, as well as adult voices saying, "Wait a minute here." Of course, I was a kid who had dysphoria, and I was a kid who was a little boy, and I was a kid who was, I want to be a man or a boy. Of course, I had all of that. I had dysphoria, I had all of it. Being said, look at me today. I went through puberty and I came out the other side perfectly
You
healthy.
started your transition at 28?
Yeah, at 30 years old, I'm 60.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that being said, this is why I highlight us adults who chose to transition. I want to go back to talking about the kids with you. So when
Mhm.
you talk about the kids, is that what people get mad at you about?
And that's what the trans community gets mad at me, but
Okay,
not all the nuclear family people. They're just
interesting.
like I talked to straight middle-aged men from Texas, white men from Texas, who are conservative,
That's
right?
right.
I talked to them. "Hey, my kindergartner came home to school today with
Mhm,
this piece of paper.
mhm.
Why do they need to know their pronouns?
At
They're in
kindergarten?
kindergarten
At right, for reals? For
in
real?
Texas."
Holy crap. Kindergarten.
Well, he
Oh
lives
my
near Austin, Texas,
oh my gosh.
so
Wow.
it's,
Wow. Wow. I mean,
the little blue spot
you
in
don't think
Texas.
that I personally gonna say that's indoctrination. Kids don't need to be doing pronouns. First off, the pronoun thing I'm not into. You know that. I'm very
Yeah.
outspoken. I find it to be indoctrinating and
I
weird.
tell
And
people, "Oh, what's your pronouns?" Guess.
that's right. I'm like,
Assume.
I don't have any pronouns. So
But
there.
because I wanna try to make a connection with other trans people on TikTok, I will be like, if I saw you and I'd be like, "Yeah, I can you're trans." I'm gonna be like, "Hey, Buck, just
Mhm,
for reference, what's your pronouns?"
mhm,
And you'll be like, he, him," and I'll be like,
mhm,
"Mine are she, her." And then I'll continue the dialogue because I feel like
mhm,
in order for me to try to talk to them and
mhm,
be talk to that side of the community,
mhm.
that I at least have to have some commonality with them. I have
That's
to,
nice
like,
of you. That's
you
nice of
know
you. That's very
I at least
respectful.
I try to be respectful, and that's
Sure.
the whole thing.
Sure.
There's also very leftist trans people on TikTok that I will go specifically to their lives to talk to them about stuff,
Mhm.
because we can talk to each other and not yell at each other, even though we have both opposing views.
Great.
You know what I
That
mean?
that's
And then
great.
they're like, "Why are you talking to this person? You guys have opposing views."
Oh,
She's
wow.
also a PhD student who loves to research, and I'll be on Discord and I'll just be like, "Hey, I need a paper on this."
Mhm,
And like within 24 hours, I will get that research paper
mhm.
or that, because it's good to have those connections.
Totally.
But me and her can talk to each other
Mhm.
without yelling at each other because we understand that's the purpose of communication. And we also understand that that actually needs to happen more often,
Mhm.
that we have people who have opposing views who can come together and have a conversation, you
Mhm.
know,
Yeah,
and that's what we need. Like,
right.
the trans community is not united at all. And we
No,
know that.
that's
Not
right.
at all.
Nope, far
But
from it.
we need some unity.
Well, the
you
only way
know?
we're gonna get unity is when we start to understand there's people in our community who are very dangerous. They are the ones who are polarizing us. It's not our general community. These are
No.
people, and facets of this community
Mhm.
who are the ones causing what you're talking about. Because of course, opposing opinions have always been part of the LGBT community forever. I've been in the community for 40 plus years. We've always disagreed on things, but we've always found that commonality. And that's the thing that's missing in our conversations is the commonality. And
Yes.
instead, everybody wants to act as if we're all the same and we all need the same thing and all the medicine works for everyone. And that's the problem as far as I'm concerned, is that nobody understands the actual real diversity. There's actual real diversity in this community that they don't want to acknowledge. And I do think
And
that's
we're talking about the trans community,
that's right, the trans community. They
which
don't.
people are like, the LGB should separate away from trans.
Well, on some
Well,
level I
what about a
agree.
trans person like me or you? We should
Mhm.
still be in that community.
Well, that being said, then there are people like who are gay trans people, but that being said, the larger picture, I understand why LGBT wants to remove themselves from the T because the T is totally spinning out right now. They're like they're like going crazy, and the LGBT wants
We're a
to.
very marginalized group
Yeah, yeah.
that has actually changed laws.
Yep, that's right. I've been part of that. I've been part of changing laws all over the world. For many years, I've traveled the
Yeah,
world changing laws. So I have worked very hard in this community, and not to be called transphobic, and not to be called a turf, and not to be called somebody who's bad for the community. That kind of stuff hurts us, not necessarily me, but hurts us when we attack
yeah.
our own or elder people who have been in this community. On some
I
level, it's
I I personally have internalized transphobia, because it used to be I was transphobic, but now, like, because the language changed all the time, I now have internalized transphobia.
Hilarious. See, that's shutting the conversation
Really?
down because they don't like what you're saying. Now that being said, um, so I don't think you do believe in puberty blockers, or am I
No,
wrong? Right,
no.
right. So can you
Or
elaborate?
hormones. Like,
How- uh
I was on Spyro. Within,
mm,
like, 6 months, I was essentially sterilized.
wow. Yeah. So we're not even
You know what I mean?
understanding that's an actual thing that people don't understand with these blockers. They keep
I would
calling
have
it
had
a
I would have had to
pause.
be off them for a long time to even attempt to try to get somebody pregnant, because my
Wow.
T would just be so low. I was suppressed, and that's the other thing that my doctor did. She suppressed me so much that
Mhm.
I think the testosterone level was 762, and
Mm.
within 3 months, I was down to 8.
Oh my gosh, that's
'Cause
actually
I
dangerous.
was on 200 milligrams a day,
Oh my
and we
gosh. A
suppressed it so
day?
much. Huh?
A day?
No, in 3 months.
Oh, and okay, but how
So
much
I was taking 200 milligrams a day,
of what?
Spyro.
Wow. Isn't that a lot?
It is a lot, but it actually, for me, it feminized me really, really quick.
But it seems so dangerous. That's you're really messing with a
Well,
with
I
a
was getting blood work every month.
okay.
And that's the other thing that I advocate too.
Oh,
Like, you
yeah.
need to see your blood work.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
How are your
hugely.
kidneys function and all
That's
this, you know?
and your liver and all 30
Yes,
years I've been
liver
on this stuff.
functions.
Yeah, no kidding.
But like I said, I had a doctor who, yes, she did suppress me very hard,
Mhm,
and I was
mhm.
also on 8. So my first month, I was on 200. My When I started, I was on 200 milligrams Spiro, and I was on 4 milligrams of estradiol, right?
Wow, okay,
Then the following month, when I saw her again, we bumped me up to 8 milligrams of 200, right?
okay, okay.
And then within 3 months, I was basically, the changes have already started to come.
Mm.
My doctor a year later did not recognize me when I walked into the office.
Wow, wow,
She's just like,
wow.
but I had a doctor who, uh, president, I still can't talk right because of my feminine facial surgery.
Oh.
Um, President of
It's okay.
making sure my blood work was correct, was good, and everything. And then as I've been going, like taking the spiral, I would be like, because I only see her every 6 months now. I was just like, hey, I'm gonna jump down to 150 and we'll see what I'm at next month. Okay, because she allowed me to kind of regulate my own, like at least with the spiral, but I still stayed on 8 milligrams of estradiol. And then I was also put on progesterone. So I
Right.
take progesterone, 100 milligrams of progesterone a day. It doesn't work for everyone. It
That's
does not
right.
work for
That's
everyone.
right.
But
That's
for
right.
me, it did.
But
It
that's
filled
the
me out.
point. That's
You
what I'm
know,
trying to make. That's the point I'm trying to make. We're not monolithic when it comes to hormones, and what works for you might not work for the next trans woman. And that being said,
when I,
same with testosterone.
I
You
got
know,
my boobs done in February of 2020. No, February 2020. Yeah,
mhm,
no,
mhm,
February 2021. Right?
mhm,
I got
mhm,
my boobs done. I was a big C
mhm.
before I got my surgery.
Wow, wow.
But it also has to deal with genetics.
Oh,
Because
there's
these
that, of
hormones are
course.
tapping into secondary characteristics,
That's
and
right.
for me, it was tapping into my mom's characteristics,
Mhm,
where my mom had natural big boobs, where my mom had curly hair,
mhm,
where my mom has bad eyesight. Now I have fucking bad eyesight. But
mhm,
where my mom's always had really good skin,
mhm,
and I've always I but
mhm.
I the only reason I had good skin because I was like one of those metrosexuals.
Right.
I was an alpha man
Ta-
who had who had
Hilarious.
abs and everything, and I would shave my body all the time, and I would make sure that my face was good, my feet were good, like normal hygiene. But I guess I went a little bit further with the normal hygiene.
You're really a gay man. Just kidding. So here I want
Yeah,
to.
but Steve, but you say that like that I'm a gay man? No, I don't see myself as a man.
No, 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 no. I was
Yeah,
kidding.
I know.
It's kind of a
I know.
stupid. So now here's what I think people need to understand when it comes to, or for me, for when it comes to us discussing what we're discussing. We are adults who've both made the choice to transition in an adult space. So we can't really hold people responsible if we choose that we made a wrong turn or something like that. But what I do think we could hold responsible who are adults who detransition, because we're seeing that, is the medical space. I personally believe that the trans medical space is a mess. It's unethical. It just seems to me like they want to keep pushing people through this and they're building a sort of space that is so huge and so financially motivated on some level. I'm wondering
Well,
how you feel.
people so the thing with the detransitioners is they
Yeah,
always go back to that document that's 7 years old that updates every 7 years.
right. That's right.
I forget what it's called,
You mean
but they always go back to that where, no, there's not this but that data is 7 years old.
the DSM or the W path standards of care?
Probably the WPASS
The
thing. That updates
SOCH.
every 7 years.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
scary. But who I also wanna let you know that I personally don't support WPATH. I used to, but now I think they've gone off the rails, and I don't and
I think
remember every
a lot of things have gone off the rails,
yeah,
but
and they're not the end all be all. They're a
yeah.
self-appointed. They are not appointed by the government. They're not appointed by the medical. They're self-appointed. WPATH is a self-appointed organization that is not the end all be all. And we don't have to follow their guidelines because I believe their guidelines, like I just said, have gone off the rails and are not positive for trans people, especially when we start calling kids trans kids. I'm scared. And when we have something called trans pediatrics, they're literally saying a 4-year-old knows they're trans. I'm like, God damn it, man.
I hate
What?
when they say that. The 4-year-old doesn't even know what color they like.
That's right. Oh my God. It's so.
They'll like blue one day and pink the next day and green the next day, and it's just like,
No, it's an agenda.
but
How
but
dare we put
here's
kids in
here's the
that?
thing. Here's what I think. It's parents want their kids to be special.
Well, there's some of them.
Parents want
There's
their
some.
kids to be LGBTQ.
There's some. I don't think all of them. I think some of them
No,
are
I don't
being
think so.
duped into it. I
But
think some
there
of
is
them are,
there is
yeah,
some
for sure. I know some.
Munchausen.
I totally agree with you 100%, and that's the internet. That's the fault of the stupid
That's the
internet.
social media.
Social media, people putting their kids, can you imagine putting your kid on TikTok at
Yeah.
10 and saying, "My kid is trans." Like, what about when that kid becomes 20 and goes, "What? You put me on the internet and like, and you outed me as trans? Maybe I don't want people to know I'm
So
trans. Maybe
whatever happened to, like, beauty pageants for little kids?
whatever happened to gender, like getting rid of gender stereotypes.
Yeah.
If a little girl is
They
all of a
they
sudden
they
a
s they have started to get rid of those, though,
that's
those
right.
little beauty pageants
That's
because
right.
you're essentially sexualizing kids.
You think? Those things creep me out.
And
Those
then, oh, my six-year-old girl has a
bleh.
boyfriend.
Blah, blah, barf, barf, barf. It's all
I'm
weird.
I'm glad I never been a parent. I have 2
Oh,
fur babies.
I am a parent.
I'm glad that I never had kids. When
Yeah, I
people are
know.
like,
It's not I mean,
don't you still want kids?" No. No.
After
Like,
seeing this mess,
there's a
no way.
reason why I have 2 cars and a motorcycle. Just saying, you
Excellent,
know?
friend. Excellent. Um, so what would you wanna say to, let's say, first off, our community? From you, I'm giving you this space right now to say something that maybe people aren't, I don't like the fact that they're attacking you. I hate that. I hate bullies. And
I have thick skin now.
I know, but it doesn't matter. I have thick skin
Mhm.
too. It still hurts and it's still gross.
Yeah.
And it's still not community. That's not community. That's
Mhm.
some weird shit going on. So what would you want to say out there to the people who keep saying the mean things to you that don't they're, they're not real? You're not transphobic. You're not
I would just like them to follow up with their sources.
there you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because all these sources are what you hear from other people saying. And it's also just not the trans people saying it. It's
Mm,
it's
mm.
it's biological males and females who come out to be louder than the trans people.
What?
Like,
Oh,
I have
allies.
trans friends, and this happens to,
That's right, allies.
this is what they're experiencing. It's very transphobic that you're trying to push this rhetoric on the kids or onto people and like, oh. And then the
Allies.
other thing too is like I'm conservative, but I'm not a Republican, but I'm conservative.
Right,
So
right,
therefore,
right.
how can you be trans and conservative?
Ridiculous. Oh, wow, that's, like, such a ridiculous statement. That trans has nothing to do with anything other than your physical or your,
Well,
space
you
gender.
want Donald Trump in the office. Did I ever say that? No,
That's
I
right.
just
That's right. There you go.
like so I voted in the state of Georgia because I still technically live in the state of Georgia,
Okay.
right?
Yeah,
But does that mean I'll vote for either one because I actually listen
that's
to the
right.
things and I vote on how I want to vote because it's my right.
That's right.
You
You're
know,
not like, being trans isn't gonna also make you vote a certain way.
no.
And anyway, it's nobody's business what your political affiliation is. It's
Well, I know
nobody's
you're a
business.
liberal, and look at us.
Yeah,
We're talking to each other.
and I'm an actual liberal, so that's right.
Yeah.
And I go on a lot of conservative, talk shows. I do because they're the only ones that will have a conversation with me.
Yes.
The liberal
Why is
media.
that? Why is that?
Gee, I wonder why. I wonder why. So I'm a liberal. I'm an actual liberal person, yet they won't even have the conversation, and they accuse me. You're just right wing. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not. So that's where you got moted, people. You can't make
Why are
assumptions.
you affiliating yourself with a far right organization such as
Well,
Gays Against Groomers and Trans Against Groomers?
they're not a far right organization. I belong to them. So they're not. They're a very diverse organization with many
Yes.
types of people in it. That's actually that's a great question, and I want the world to know. This is what a diverse organization looks like. Gays Against Groomers, trans, they're diverse. They have every form of political party, trans, gay people, bisexual people.
Well,
We have one message to the world. We will not stand for the grooming of children. We will not.
yeah.
That's our
And
commonality.
I kinda wanna be
That's
part
right.
of that
Thank you.
movement.
Thank
You
you.
know what I mean?
Yeah,
And that's
thank you.
also, like, one of the other reasons why I'm glad that I'm able to talk to somebody who's kinda like a leader of that group. You know what I mean?
Well,
Or on the forefront of that group,
yeah, it's an
I
important
should say.
group. I mean, I hate the word
I
groomer.
believe you guys are all equals,
We
but
are.
there is and I listen to them and I hear them.
Yeah, that's all we talk about is this ridiculous idea that
And I'm glad
trans
what
kids
happened in Florida, and now Tennessee's thinking about passing the same thing.
gonna happen, and that's the thing is, though, there's pros and that people aren't listening. You cannot transition children on a whim. They have to go through a whole system. There has to be a lot of stuff going on, and it has to be so desperate. I mean, I'm gonna be honest, I know
Well,
a couple kids that are medically transitioned, and they seem to be okay, but I'm wondering what's gonna happen in 20 years to their
look at
bodies.
what's happening over in the UK,
That's right,
where,
they
like,
shut
you
it
can't
down.
go see a therapist.
Yep,
You have to see a medical doctor now,
that's right.
because now there's too many therapists that are just sending them off.
Affirming,
And
affirming,
then
affirming.
even social transitioning is
Mhm.
being deemed as,
Because there's an agenda attached to it. On some level,
yeah,
I socially transitioned in the '60s, but there was no agenda. There was nothing going on. I just dressed like a little boy. I was a tomboy. There was no agenda attached to it. It was just let him be how he needs to be. That's how I think just let kids be. Oh, I don't like why can't they just let kids play in the sandbox with each other and figure it out on their own? But there's the parents like or the adults sticking their nose in it.
I like that one passage that I saw where it was like, if you think your kid is trans, when they come home from school for the summer, take
Mhm.
away their phones and social media, and then see if they're still trans.
That's right. That's right. That's actually true. I've seen many parents reach out to me and they're like, I took my kid away for the summer, came back, she's back to being living as a girl, happy, happier than ever. When she was trans, she was mad and angry and cutting herself and now she's happy and I'm
Because
like,
you have underlining issues.
that's right.
So that's what you have to
Trauma.
so that's also the other thing. There's underlining issues that nobody really wants to talk about. Like,
That's right.
I have previous PTSD and stuff like
Yep.
that. Like,
Mhm.
could my could my trauma affect the way why I was coming out the way that I was?
Yes.
Could.
Yes. Yes.
It's plausible,
Yes.
but they say that being trans doesn't come from trauma. Like,
They don't know where it comes from. So who's ever saying that is a complete
but I'm
liar.
saying
There's
that it's plausible that it does come from trauma.
100%. Oh my god, I could the detransitioners, every single one of them that I interview or talk to, they all go back to their trauma. What is it? BPD? Bipo no, the one that has different, well, that'd be bipolar disorder, but there's also ones that have different, is it
Mhm.
DID or like different, identity disorder? I mean,
I mean, I
they
should know these because people label themselves that they have all this
all the time,
shit.
but all these kids told me that they all had some underlying trauma that was not addressed. They went through
I'm a
15
I'm a
minutes.
trans masculine non-binary with
What is that?
PTSD.
That's right.
Uh,
That's right.
I'm on the autistic
Autism.
spectrum.
Yep. 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 So they're living in their they're in their disorders. They're literally living in
You
I
want your
don't wanna
badge?
live. Huh? Sorry?
You want your badge?
Yeah, that's right.
Like, are we Girl Scouts now, Boy Scouts, where we need to have our badges and show them off proudly?
Well, all I'm gonna say is this, it's literally gonna show people that we have a huge amount of mental illness happening, and we need to address that. And they keep saying this isn't a mental disorder. It is 100% a mental disorder,
Is it
and
in
we
a DSM-5?
yeah, but they're saying I mean, the thing is I actually have a paper from my therapist from, like, 30 years ago that I have gender dysphoria. Like like, what are you talking about? I have an actual
It is, of
diagnosis.
course, a mentalist because it's mental,
It's
because
mental.
my brain does not align with the body that I'm in.
I mean, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that one out. It's a mental disorder.
And also, back to the brain. I hate when they bring that up.
What?
They have done brain scans
Mhm,
of females and males,
mhm.
and trans people align their brain scans are that of the opposite sex.
Okay, well, I'll look into that. I'm not really sure that
No, 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 like,
uh-huh.
why is my brain different? I take estrogen.
That's right. There you go. Then there's that.
So then I have a feminized brain because I take estrogen.
Well,
Why
I
do you
don't
have a male brain? You still take testosterone,
but
right?
is my brain male? I don't know, and I don't
But
care.
the
All I know is
testosterone affects it.
Well, on some level,
Yeah,
I'm sure it's that, but I hate when people tell me I'm no longer a biological female because I have 30 years of testosterone. It didn't change my biology. It changed the way I look and the way I
yes.
act and the way I feel on some level, but it did not change my biology. It never will. I'm so mad at people saying stuff like that. So I'm going to actually go get a chromosome test and see if my chromosomes changed.
Yeah, so I still actually do jujitsu, although I haven't in the past, like, year. Haven't really since my surgery, but I did a tournament, like, a month before my surgery,
Mhm,
and I did it as in the male 30 to 39 division,
mhm,
and my coach was fine with it, everybody else was fine with it, I got all the support. I
mhm,
got all the support from the people that I competed against, from
mhm,
the other teams that I competed against. They're just like, "Yo, you're yeah, I'm a trans woman,
mhm.
and I do have an advantage over women."
Thank you for saying
And
that. Thank you.
so therefore, like, I'm gonna compete against men because that's where I
Thank you.
feel more comfortable. And it was actually kind of funny because I was wearing booty shorts and a sports bra,
Awesome.
and I ended up placing first place in no gi and gi, and then second in absolute,
Right
where I
on.
lost to like 110-pound man who just monkeyed all around. I'm just like, damn,
But
So
good for you. That I mean, I think I'm gonna tell you, I appreciate that, and I'm sure a lot of, women will appreciate that. You understand how biology matters in
mhm.
sports, and it matters in a lot of spaces, and that it's not transphobic to understand biology in any way, shape, or form. It's the reason we are trans. Biology. That's it. Never gonna get rid of
and
it.
and then the other question is, what if you were able to transition earlier?
Right. That's always a
Well,
question people say. You can't
I
ask
I
me
I
that.
I didn't. I couldn't. Yeah, I can't
You can't
because
even. Nope.
it's
Can't answer.
the person I was for 36 years made the person I am today,
That's right. Thank you.
and I
That's right.
still have my legal name. And people
Right.
are like, "Why don't you change it?"
It's your choice.
I don't feel like the need to.
That's right. It's
Although
your
it does
choice.
say Miss,
Yeah.
and my license from Georgia says female, and my passport says female.
There you
Well,
go.
why'd you change them? Because it helps me go through society easier.
You have to do your passport. If you try to travel with mail, they would never let you go. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
You're a woman now, and they just wouldn't. Yeah, they'd be like, "What?" It's like me. If mine said female, I would never get on the plane. They'd be like, "What?" Or else, probably not. They would just think I'm non-binary or something. They would be like,
Is
"What
there such
toilet?"
a thing as non-binary?
I don't know, and I don't it's an identity choice, so whatever that
Yeah.
means. Yep, so they created it, it exists, but it's not to me, it has nothing to do with being transgender at all. It's a different identity choice, and,
I know some
whatever.
non-binary people that identify with Q or the plus.
And the other thing I have, why is non-binary speaking for trans people? It seems so insane to me that you're even in our conversation.
And then
Non-binary
most
is
of the
not me.
non-binary people are females taking testosterone.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's a whole other conversation. That's why I consider myself transsexual and I'm in a medicalized space. I'm a binary person. I wanted to live as a
Well, I
man.
would label myself as transsexual, but I try not to just
Yeah.
like, I don't wanna be that's why I just say that I'm just a trans woman.
Right. No, I totally get
I'm
it. I
not
don't
a
walk around
transgender
saying
woman, I'm not a trans
yeah,
I'm just
yeah, that's right. I know
and
I'm just a man.
I got stuck with that adjective because I chose to start my transition.
That's right. That's
Like,
totally right. That's right. That's right. So that's a whole other conversation, the non-binary thing. And
and
I
I'm
want
fine
everybody.
with transsexual.
I'm not uncomfortable with people calling themselves non-binary. I don't care. They can do whatever they want. I just am uncomfortable with them speaking over me and telling the world that X, Y, and Z is trans when that's not true. So that's anyway. That's a whole. We'll have that. I'll bring you back on and we'll have that conversation because it's very
Totally.
hot. It's a heated subject. But that being said, we're going to end this in conversation because we probably go on
Thank
for
you.
3 hours. And I just want you to leave the world with a little message right now, if you want to do that, and something that you feel is important to give to the world right now when everyone's struggling, especially in the trans space.
My name is Nikki, I'm just a human being
Right
who's
on.
happy, who loves their life, because
Excellent,
transition actually saved my life.
excellent, Nikki.
I had
Excellent.
my therapist, my psychiatrist see everything.
Mhm. Mhm.
They know I've had 4 surgeries,
Yeah.
you know? Like, I'm done with the surgeries now, but and I got them all paid for by health insurance because I
See,
work
that's
for a huge company.
but that's what people also need to see when they say trans rights are being no, they're not. My God, I had to pay for everything on my own. They didn't even touch no insurance company would touch us
I
back in
had
the day.
$250,000 in surgeries, and I have not paid anything except
That
my
is
I
incredible.
pay $9 a
Incredible.
week for my insurance.
Incredible. Thank you for saying that. You have, what we have come to now is so incredible that we get insurance to pay for our stuff. Is just please, I mean, trans community out there, I'm asking you to see what you have, not what you don't have, because
Well,
you have stuff.
on my YouTube, I actually explain, like, the Amazon benefits too,
Oh,
just
great.
from my own experience. I do have a
Great.
YouTube, but it's
Okay. Yeah.
not
We'll put
for
that. Mhm.
me, it's just it allows me to express myself. I suck at editing, but I don't care because
Who
I like
cares?
to have those little rambles in there,
I think they're
because I
important.
sometimes I think they're important. And, I've had my YouTube for a couple of years now. I have 107 subscribers, but
Ex-
for me, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It allows me, and the best thing that I've had is that every once in a while I get a message from somebody and they'll be like, "Hey, I saw your YouTube on this."
Mhm.
And that's what it's there for.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Mhm. Totally.
But like I said, I'm also on TikTok.
Okay.
I'm Nikki Dot Star Killer and Nikki Dot Star Killer One.
Okay. Excellent.
I'm
Are you
also
on?
on Instagram
Great.
where I'm
Great.
Nikki Star Killer.
Great.
I'm now back on Twitter where I'm
Great.
Nikki Star Killer. Because
Great.
now that Elon has it, like, I feel like I can actually go on it now.
It's such a shit show over there. It's so hilarious. People are so crazy on the internet. So I'm gonna put all that in the description
Yeah,
below.
everything's Nikki.
Great,
Nikki
great. I'll
Star
put
Killer,
all
like, except for TikTok because unfortunately Nikki Star Killer got permabanned like a year ago.
I don't understand TikTok. I just don't. It seems so weird. Some of the stuff they let on and the other stuff they get banned. It's just clearly a very biased space and there isn't freedom of speech
But it's
anymore.
a space where I feel like people like need to be in to try to reach to
No, me
those
too.
folks.
I'm on
You know what
TikTok
I mean?
too. Yeah, yeah. No, I totally agree with you. We have to be
But
there. Yep. Yep.
it's
Totally.
not as sorry, it's not as
Mhm.
prevalent though.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
I
one of
know.
those spaces because everybody gets banned
Yep, that's
no
right. It's
matter what.
difficult to break through. That's why I have to be on all platforms. Well, thanks, Nikki.
Mhm.
I really appreciate you. You're awesome, and I'm so
Thank you,
glad
boss.
that we met each other and we're now together and connected to each other. And I want to just tell everybody out there, thank you again for watching these interviews. They mean
Thank
a
you.
lot to me, and giving these people the voice to have a conversation instead of shutting them down. Whether you agree with any of us or not, I think you need to stand back, everybody, and start to realize how important these conversations are because you'll start to get different perspectives, the perspectives that are being shut down, and that there are people in the transgender and transsexual community who don't like what's happening and that our voices are not being amplified. And so that's the real point of this channel, is to amplify voices that have opposing opinions of the sort of more popular trans agenda. So thanks again, Nikki. You're super awesome. And
Thanks, boss.
I'll put all your stuff at the bottom, and I'll see you later.